reasoning and, critical thinking and that. And I don't know, but for me, because my daughters are like 2 and 4, weighing the other possibility gets them really emotional, the negative. So I just don't even
That is
bring it
true.
up. I just go,
It
do you
can
want,
backfire sometimes.
yeah, I'm like, do you want this? Do you want to stay out of your room? Well, then you have to
Yeah.
do this. And it just, because all you need is one motive. If you get them to reason, they get caught up in it, and then they start freaking out, and maybe they get decision overload because their brains aren't developed. If they're older, that might.
Well,
maybe,
mine's only 5, and this is a tactic I've been using for maybe the last year or so. Now that
okay.
he's a little bit older and he can, comprehend a little bit better, like what the pros and cons are. Like I was helping him with his homework the other day, and I asked him to rewrite the numbers so that they looked like the numbers they were supposed to look like. I said, you did everything right, but it's a little sloppy. Just fix this one and this one. There were like maybe 3 of them that I needed him to fix. And he erased the whole thing. Like he threw a tantrum and erased everything because he didn't want to do it. And I said, all right, well, now we just have to sit here longer. I said, I got all day, buddy. I got nothing to do. We're going to sit here till you do this. He said, but it's hard and it takes so long. And I went, well, that's your fault. I said, all you had to do was you had to fix these 3 things, and you decided to erase everything. So now you have to do 12 things instead of 3 things.
Well,
that's your fault. Do you need to eat something? Do you want to take a little break? And so he had a sandwich, and then we went back to it, and he did it in like 5 minutes. He just filled it all out. I was like, all right, he was hungry. That's why he was throwing a fit. But it was that kind of thing that I was like, no, this isn't daddy's fault. This isn't the teacher's fault. This is your fault because you threw a fit, and now these are the consequences.
Yeah. So
and then usually within a few minutes he's fine.
Yeah. Well, because it's worked so well, I am like really quickly going to what's the thing they might possibly want.
Yeah.
And just like so quickly, like, what I was thinking is that I used to be like, what punishment am I about to have to give?
Right.
And it was more like, that was the iron fist. That's how we got raised. And it was not fun. And it wasn't, I don't think there was a ton of things that weren't healthy about it because it wasn't enabling. It was fear-based. Again, your motivation is, it's punitive. I might get my butt kicked. But like, if you hate the people you're in the house with, like that isn't a conducive situation to be able to grow. But if you see them as someone that is going to enable you, even when you're misbehaving, if they're going to lay something out there that you can get that's worth behaving for, it's the best of all the worlds.
It really is. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Yeah, so it's the philosophy change of let's use rewards versus punishment, the positive motivation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like that type of like fear-based motivation may work when we're younger, but like when I turned like 15, 16, like it no longer was effective. Like it wasn't. You have no power. Like you have no leverage. Yeah. Like
it's not respectable to do that. So you can't really earn somebody's respect because you're not enabling them. You're saying like, like you're going to pound me, or not that was really a thing that got said. But it's just not, it's like, yeah, right. Like it's a joke. But if that whole time they were like enabling you and making your life better, then like the kids see me, I'll correct them and use something that they want. And then you're a hero all the time. It's night and freaking day. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But so personal application happens too. It's like I said, that reconstruction thing is like because we do have a punitive side in our own psychology. We go, well, I didn't do this thing. So I was going to say, screw me, but like something bad has to happen to me, whether that means I need to deprive myself of something or I need to, make myself moody and feel like crap because, it isn't just like you take the parenting style onto your own you have punitive sides, and with reason. You think that it does you a favor, and sometimes maybe it does, but I think more often than not, you would be better off saying, what are the possibilities if I do this? And then pick a possibility you freaking want, and then do the crap out of that thing.
I want to take a little step back towards like the punitive psychology.
Yeah.
I think personally that is something that is perpetuated a lot of times unintentionally with religion.
I'm learning more than I used to understand about that as I'm like my personal journey, like how, like understanding God's motives and stuff. Like just from what I'm learning from his motives, and like that, if that's good psychology for humans, he's got better psychology. There may be a mislabeling of intentions of what seems to be punitive things, but like ultimately, until we're dead and all of the things are said and done, I think that the it can only be so punitive.
Well, I guess that's true for the most part.
A lot of times I miss out on this or that because it wasn't, I wasn't doing this principle that creates this other thing to be better in my life.
But yes, I think the reason why I brought that up specifically is because like you and I, it seems we operate under a lot of the same principles, and our worldviews are pretty different. Like, so me not being a religious person, you being more religious, still having similar principles and similar goals in life and going in a similar direction, but you you might be encouraged by like some religious stuff where I would be completely turned off by it.
Well, so in the last year, I took some classes at PSU, and I saw like a bunch of religions that I didn't know about before, and like their foundings and a lot of like their principles and a lot of really cool stuff that I mean, like, I think are good practice. Like no matter what where your beliefs come from, there's a lot of good practices out there. And I mean, for me, I mean, anybody could start a religion as far as that goes and come up with good principles. And so, I mean, there's the punitive thing. I'm not sure exactly how to approach the punitive side of, I have thoughts about it, but I don't know how to approach it in this context. But yeah,
we can skip this and maybe come back to it off air.
Yeah. No, I think that there's things that I have understanding and thoughts about, and yeah, I think we can revisit it because I'm learning that God is more about joy and love, and the end of I'm bringing it up, but the end of the commandments is love. So there's no reason to be overly punitive if everyone's trying to work towards love, and I think that God wants that to happen so if you work on the principles, you'll come to love eventually.
Right.
And I think that sounds, for anybody that wants to be happy, I mean, of all the top goals that people have in their life, romantic love is very high on the list a lot of times. And I mean, that's kind of, maybe that's a overstatement or something, but I've seen it quite a lot.
Companionship, if love, not romantic love.
Right. Connection. Yeah. Right. No, like connection as the love. Like you want to have friends that there's care that you can rely on, that there's, that connection that's meaningful connection. We could call it, you can call it that. Yeah. It doesn't have to be romantic. So yeah. Right. So, for me, that's like high on the list. And then the other one is joy, is like the goal of God is for us to be joyful. So that's, some people don't see it that way. And they think about, oh, well, what about all this threats and all this other stuff? And it's like, well, that shouldn't even be on the radar. You should focus on the joy and the love. And then you're making progress.
Yeah. And I think that's where we can align, is where we're both looking for that. Like we both want joy and love in our, we want that. And that's where we align. And like,
so then what principles do you follow to do that?
I think that most of the principles are all pretty universal. It's just like, so I'm going to use a little example that I gave Mom once. there's you take an ink block test, and I look at it and I see what I see, and it means what it means to me. You look at that same thing, it means and looks like what it does to you. It's pretty likely that we're not going to see the same thing, though.
Go ahead.
Although we're definitely looking at the exact same thing.
Yeah, they bring up the analogy of like an elephant too. Like you're looking at it from a different side, and you're describing. You're like, no, it's like this. And, yeah, I see that. So that's there's things beyond that I understand, but I see the logic. And I think that there's a lot of truth to, like, no matter what, somebody's on the other side of an elephant and there's something different. So I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't dispute that is a thing. There's some substance that I find interesting of just like who created the elephant. Was it Santa Claus, or was it? I mean, go in and define things a little better.
Well, that just creates some circular thinking, though, because if we'll go with it and say, well, the elephant was created by something. What created the something that created it? It's a chicken or the egg thing. And then if you just remove the chicken or the egg thing from the equation and just be like, well, we've got a chicken or we've got an egg, and look at whichever one you want to look at, it doesn't really matter. Like,
well, the egg came first, because not only chickens lay eggs. Like,
well,
dinosaurs
another thing
were
is
laying eggs.
There are some things that we're stumped on, and we just have to be okay with something being stumping us.
I'm totally cool with that. Like, I am content with being stumped. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't need to have this greater understanding of what makes the engine like. I'm not a mechanic, and if I need to change the oil, but I'm putting air in my tires, it's not going to help. So, like, that's a huge jump, but that's like,
well, it also, though, the other thing is that if you were the only one, let's say you had a car that you could actually work on, not like these new computer garbage ones,
right.
One that you could actually work on, and it was just your job to get your car from point A to point B and nobody else's. And you needed a little bit of help here and there to enable you. And I believe that's what God does, is enables that. Then that could have its function to get from point A to point B. But anyways, like, there's a lot of philosophy involved here, but and kind of for me, it's the essence of, is religion man-made or is it God-made? And not just all religions, but is there if I'm just coming up with my own stuff, then it doesn't really matter. But if God is a source of something, then that matters.
Right. All I'm saying is that, like, okay, I need to like, we're coming close to time.
Okay.
But I just want to like leave this on a light note and not have it be so heavy.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this, like, it's just like all of the things in any religion or any like well, let's just say any religion, there's so much that is left to interpretation, because like it's very clear that not everything was meant to be taken literally, and I think that that's a pretty true statement in most religious texts, that a lot of it is left to interpretation, to the individual or to an individual that then gives the interpretation. And so I think because of that, my mind goes to think that there's whether the religion or religions or whatever was made from God, or God was in charge of it or whatever, there's too many human variables that are left to interpretation that makes me question a lot of it. And so I really vibe with like universal intelligence or source, or like you call God something that, when you say God, you call God because you've developed a relationship with whatever that looks like to you, or whatever it is to you, and like everything that you believe and know that has been the accumulation of your life, right?
Yeah, personal experience.
Right. And the relationship that I have with whatever that might be is like, it's like, let's say you're in the middle of the journey. Like, just for example's sake.
Okay.
me and you are not on the same part of that journey. Like the relationship that I have is in a